What is up, Battlehawks Nation? Welcome back to yet another live post game on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering the St. Louis Battlehawks. And today I am joined by Connor, as always. No Braden today, as he is out busy getting a lame ass tattoo. But nonetheless, the Battlehawks had their home opener today in front of a raucous St. Louis crowd, where they were able to defeat the Arlington Renegades by a final score of 24-11. And we'll talk about the game. We'll break everything down, talk about the offense and the defense and stuff. But today's game was mainly about St. Louis and the fans and filling the dome. We waited so long to see this, and we finally got to see it. The dome had a spring record, or a spring attendance record, of 38,310 fans. Just unlike anything we've ever seen for the XFL or any spring football league altogether. So, Connor, I'm going to ask you your initial thoughts, and I'm assuming you're just going to piggyback off the fan support aspect instead of really the game itself. But go ahead. What did you think?
Okay, first I was going to ask you something. I've noticed this the last couple of recaps you do. Why do you write out the word Saint in St. Louis?
It's just easier
than ST.
Yeah.
Nobody calls it that. Nobody's ever written down St. Louis and wrote SAINT.
It's more search engine friendly.
Who's looking that up?
You'd be surprised.
Are people just dumb? No, I gotta look this up now. I'm gonna type in SAINT Lewis because it's gonna give me the guy, I think. Yeah, St. Louis, Missouri. St.Louis, city of St. Louis.
I mean, are we really going to sit here and complain about the spelling of St. Louis in the title?
Yes, because you misspelled St. Louis. That's why nobody watches this show, because people are typing in St. Louis Battlehawks, and you're out here writing Saint like it's the New Orleans Saints. That's the problem. That's why the show's not getting any viewership, because you can't even spell your hometown.
Well, it's not that I spelt it wrong. I just don't use the short abbreviation for Saint.
It's not an abbreviation. It's the name.
But it's St. Louis.
Find me one instance of it being called SAINT Lewis.
Well, can we just talk about the game?
You're tanking your show. Okay, you got St. Louis University, and
oh my
god, that's it. Change it.
Well, I mean, we're in the middle of the show. I can just put STL Battlehawks next time. It's not a big deal.
That's better. Anyway, what was I saying?
Nothing. You're rambling about the spelling of St. Louis.
Because it's stupid. But yeah, what you were saying earlier, which, the Battlehawks were in the driver's seat for the majority of this game. There wasn't really any too tense situations. There were a couple times where you in particular were freaking out. But it felt like the Battlehawks...
Why do we have to bring that up every week?
Because it's ridiculous. Every week, I have to sit there and listen to you ramble on about how much you hate me for getting you into this, and how miserable you are, and how bad the team is, and how you never want to do the post-game show again for 3 hours every week. And I'm tired of you being so damn negative and then putting on this face once we get on the show. So it's important for me to illustrate what I have to deal with during the game.
The Anthony Becht experience.
You complain about Becht even when the defense is on the field, but yeah.
Well, he's not an offensive coach, so.
Well, Becht was horrible at just managing.
We're going to talk about Becht later.
Yeah, we can sit here and talk about Becht all day. But the important thing is, the reason this league is what it is because of the city of St. Louis, and so, like you mentioned, the attendance record of 38,000 people, and you'd think that with a major attendance record like that for spring football, at least, that's nothing in the NFL. But for an attendance record like that for spring football, there would be the comments would be an outshowing of support, saying "Oh yeah, this is great, yeah." That's not what was going on here. What was going on here was that Battlehawks fans were whining in the comments that they didn't open up more seats because every ticket that they had available, they sold, because they only opened up 2 sections of the 400s, and the rest of them they didn't sell. I guess because of like staffing issues, which I can't imagine that finding like what concession stand workers to work up there. Like, what workers do you need up there? Like security guards? Like, I don't understand like what you need up there, like what extra workers you need. I assume it's just extra security to make sure they don't burn the place down or like break seats or just steal or things like that. Maybe like a team store up top. I don't know. But the point is, uh, they could have sold more tickets than they did. And I assume that they know that. And
They
they'll,
probably will next week.
yeah, I'll be there next week. I don't know how this show's going to work if I'm there, but we'll probably figure it out.
Yeah.
But moral of the story is like this city is carrying this league. Like last night Orlando played and they had like a 10,000 attendant, or they had 10,000 people in attendance. We got almost 4 times that, and it could have been a lot more. And it's just so nice, especially after like the first 3 weeks of road games where it's just like we have to see these like pathetic like under 20,000 crowds, and just everyone on Twitter like, oh, this league's not going to succeed and all that. And then you come to St. Louis, and mine, like, it's selection Sunday, and my entire timeline was just St. Louis is a football city. Now that might be because I follow a lot of football pages, but it just seemed like the talk of the town, so to speak, was the Battlehawks today. And that's always nice to see. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. This was to be expected. But to see that they actually did show up and they're going to continue to show out, I'm going to be stunned if they don't. But it just looked like a fantastic atmosphere, and I can't wait to be there next week. And another takeaway that I had is we were talking about this while we were watching the game, and I'd really like to see the merchandise sale numbers for this league. I don't know if they publish that or anything like that, but looking around the stands of this game, almost everyone had like some form of Battlehawks merchandise on. And as opposed to like the DC Defenders who are playing right now, you're going to see guys like wearing, some of them will have like an old Defenders 2020 jersey. Some of them will have like Redskin shirts. Others will have like a Wizard shirt on or something like that. It's just kind of a mixed bag of like usual like DC streetwear, right? But for the Battlehawks, it was very much an NFL environment where everyone had on the team's merchandise, repping them and supporting them. And it was just really great to see.
Yeah, I was going to mention that if you didn't, it just looked like a true Battlehawks crowd, not a bunch of people that are just coming to watch football and they don't really know what it is. Like, we had XFL 2020, we had the Battlehawks. People waited 3 years to get this opportunity to fill the dome. We had a couple of games in the dome in XFL 2020, and the fan support was great, but everyone was anticipating filling up to the very top. They opened up the 300 level for this game, and they sold a lot of those tickets, and they decided, hey, we're going to open up the 400 level. A few days before the game, they sold out all those tickets that were available, and it's just a good sign, and it probably means that they're going to open up more seats later, and we could see St. Louis break their own record that they just set this week in fan attendance. And it's just so nice to see, and you could tell the players loved it. You know, my friend that is in St. Louis right now, he was at the game today. He sent me a video of going down the street on his way to the game, and the streets were just filled with St. Louis Battlehawks fans, and they welcomed the players and the coach right off the bus. Like you mentioned, it's like a college atmosphere, greeting all the players as they walk into the stadium. It was unlike anything they had ever seen since being in this league. And you could tell, like, as soon as they hit the field and the St. Louis crowd was getting loud for them, they could feel the energy, and they were like pumping up the crowd, waving their arms up and down, telling them to get loud because they knew they had a crowd behind them. And they had to wait 4 weeks for it, but I think it was well worth it. This was the type of pick-me-up game that the league needed. And we mentioned last week how having so many fans at the game and having that sort of atmosphere on TV makes the game more watchable on television. And it just is aesthetically pleasing when you have a lot of fans at a football game. It felt like a football game. And some of these XFL games don't really feel like a football game sometimes.
Vegas.
Yeah. Like the Vegas DC game right now. Like the DC attendance looks kind of disappointing tonight.
I've said it before, like, for the sake of this league, they need a Brahma's Battlehawks championship game. Like, that needs to happen because you don't have a passionate fan base outside of those two. Like, I was hopeful that Orlando would be that, but Orlando's not that. Like, and the Brahmas haven't even had a second home game yet. Their only home game was that first one against the Battlehawks, and I guarantee they're going to have better attendance at their second home game. And I think it's definitely good. I had mixed feelings about the way that they set up the Battlehawks home games, but looking at it, it was definitely intentional to wait until week 4 to build up hype for this. And I guess you could say it paid off. I still think that they would have sold a lot of tickets had this been week 1, but the hype paid off, and I think the same thing's going to happen in San Antonio's. And just ticket sales are going to go through the roof for the Alamo Dome and the Edward Jones Dome. I know that's not what it's called anymore, but it's what it is to me, so it's what I'm going to call it. And those are all going to be nice pick-me-ups for the league. I looked at the Battlehawks schedule, and they play. I think it's like they play their next 2 games at home, go 2 on the road, then come home for the last 2 games or something like that. And that's just going to be great for the league to have that extra ticket revenue. And it's going to be great for the Battlehawks because this was their most complete football game that they've played this season. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
They just visibly, like, they had their, like, dumbass moments and their frustrating moments and all that. But overall, like, this was their most complete game. And I think, like, people argue over, like, the validity of home field advantage all the time, right? But I feel like, especially in this league, when you have a 40,000 person crowd versus a 6,000 person crowd, you can't tell me that there isn't a home field advantage for the Battlehawks there. And with we got like 6 games to go, and 4 of them are at home. That's great for the Battlehawks, just championship aspirations, really. Because, like we were talking about last week, the DC Defenders look to be their main competition to prevent them from going to the championship, right? Because the Sea Dragons don't look great, and the Vipers just look straight up awful. And next week, the game that I'm going to, they're playing the Defenders at home in St. Louis. And despite all the issues with the team, they still went the distance with DC. It's not like DC completely outclassed them like we see a lot of these spring league teams do, like how the last XFL, the Roughnecks basically just outclassed everyone. I think that if you can beat DC at home, like, you're going to need some luck to go your way, but, like, if you beat DC at home next week, you can very easily at least go to the championship.
Well, and I feel good about their chances against DC next week, even though they're a pretty good team, because you get that same.
Oh, you're not going to say that during the game next week, though. Let's just be very clear about that right now. I guarantee that I'm going to look down at my phone from the stands of the Edward Jones Dome and just see, this team sucks. Fire Anthony Betts. This team is horrible. Why'd you get me into this spring league? This is funny to, like, 2 people because Braden's the only other person who's seen you like this. But, oh, my God. Like, I need to make that public knowledge so you can stop this shit. It's so damn annoying.
It's not going to stop.
Oh, I know it's not. Like, every week, the Battlehawks recap is canceled. We're not doing this. Every week, without fail. The show is canceled until it's live. Like, every week. It's so annoying.
Well, anyway, as I was saying, you get that Battlehawks crowd behind you next week against the DC Defenders, and that's going to be an environment that DC hasn't seen before. And yeah, but the St. Louis Battlehawks, they have the Dome, which is exclusive to them, and that's one of the other cool things about playing at the Dome in St. Louis is that is where the Battlehawks play. That's the Battlehawks home, whereas like some of these other stadiums where other teams play, they're like sharing the stadium with an NFL team or a college team or something like that. Whereas St. Louis, it's like fans have already dubbed it the Battle Dome. Like that's what it's called to them. And the Battle Dome advantage is a real thing. And I think DC will experience that next week. But let's get into this game a little bit and breaking it down since we're about 15 minutes in. We barely really talked about it. But A.J. McCarron was 20 of 27 for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns today. He had 1 interception to the former Battlehawks safety, Joe Moore, and that was a bad interception, no doubt about it. But you said it. The Battlehawks had their dumb moments in this game, but for the most part, it felt like they scored whenever they needed to. And on one of the times that they scored, and we got to talk about this, there was like 50 seconds left in the second quarter. All right. The Battlehawks had all 3 timeouts. They get into the red zone. Anthony Beck just lollygagging on the sideline with all 3 timeouts, letting the clock run down. I was counting it down to you on the Discord chat while we were watching the game. 34, 33, 32. Is Beck really not going to use a timeout? Lets the clock run all the way down to 20 seconds. Finally, A.J. McCarron snaps the ball, finds Darius Shepard deep, wide open for the Battlehawks' first touchdown of the game and their first in St. Louis of this year. That was horrible clock management by Anthony Beck that somehow worked out in his favor. And I don't know how Beck does it. He seems to consistently make horrible decisions that just somehow work out for him. But that was insane.
Yeah, that was just straight up dumb. That's like, no matter the outcome of this season, it's not like we really know how like the coaching carousels for these leagues work. The only frame of reference I have for like how these coaches are going to work going into year 2 are based off of what happened in the USFL. And what happened in that league is like half the coaches just stepped down for one reason or another. And just, I feel like there's a strong chance that in any situation outside of a championship, Anthony Beck steps down or steps away or something and like happens to go take like a tight end job with like the Toronto Argonauts or something like that. Like, I just find it hard to believe that somebody who's that inept, like, we're 3-1, but we're like 3-1 with Nathaniel Hackett as the coach. Like, is it like Jerry Rosenberg was the Broncos interim head coach who was brought in to just help Hackett not screw up the game clock and timeouts and all that?
Yeah, it was like a game management coach.
Yeah, he wasn't retained by the Broncos. Let's bring him to St. Louis. Like,
it's like hiring a babysitter for your coach.
Yeah. And I still don't like Bruce Gradkowski. I really don't like his play calling. I got frustrated several times because it just feels like we'll run the ball in really inopportune moments. And obviously, I don't know the specifics off the top of my head of the situation, but I remember it was like we were deep in Arlington territory on like a 4th down and 2, and then it was just like a shotgun handoff, and that's just dumb. Like,
yeah, or even like the end of the game. You know, the Battlehawks were going to win either way. It would have taken a miracle for Arlington, but the Battlehawks had a chance technically to close it out really with 3rd and 1 run play. Really slow handoff that allowed the defensive line to get penetration. So the run went absolutely nowhere. And then 4th and 1, they run basically the same exact play, but this time McCarron just took the snap from under center instead of in shotgun. Again, slow ass handoff. Defensive line gets penetration, the run goes nowhere, and you turn the ball over on down. It's like, why? Like,
I just don't understand how after you saw the Eagles run to the Super Bowl, how you don't use QB sneaks.
Yeah.
Like, even if that's just a fad that's going to go away.
Well, it's worked for St. Louis this year, too. I mean, they scored a touchdown by doing that.
Granted, Ben DiNucci, like, had the worst quarterback sneak I've ever seen in this XFL season. But still, like, do it. Like, or, you know what? This is the XFL. Let's have some fun. Bring out the defensive tackle to play fullback and lean forward. Like, that's how you make like a really short play like that entertaining. Go for it. Why not?
And I forget if it was the 3rd and 1 or the 4th and 1 play, but they had the tight end Sutherland kind of go in motion and almost kind of pretend like he was about to take the snap, but it would have been better just for him to take the snap and sneak it. Kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs did with like Blake Bell and Noah Gray. Like, just have your tight end take the snap and sneak it if you're that concerned about your QB doing it, you know?
Yeah, it was just dumb all the way around. But this was probably their best game running the ball. I will say that.
It was. I have the stats in front of me. So Brian Hill, who, by the way, I had no idea he was a St. Louis native, but he is, and this was his homecoming today, had 18 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown, averaged 5 yards per carry. So the running game was pleasantly surprising today. I mean, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you spend 3 weeks trying to establish it, eventually it's got to work, right?
Well, I got to say, too, that the offensive line in general had a really good day. And that might be why. Or I don't know if the Renegades just have a weak defensive line in general, but the Battlehawks were ripping off some big runs today, just cruising for a first down every time they handed off the ball. And then, if I'm reading these stats correctly, AJ McCarron was not sacked one time today. And he was sacked 12 times through the first 3 games, sacked 0 times today. So that's a stark contrast.
Off-topic side note, I have the stream for the Defenders Vegas game on my computer just because, that affects the Battlehawks a lot, so I'm curious, right? And the camera is following the beer snakes more than it is the ball. Like, there's just this big dude in a Redskins coat, like, walking up to guys just trying to, like, talk them out of their beer cups to add to the beer snake. We need something like that in STL. I was telling
Braden, we need a thing.
I was telling Braden that I really want to bring a folding table to St. Louis next week and jump through like a Bills fan. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's something I want to do. I know that's extremely off topic, but I think it's something worth mentioning.
You could pick up a cheap table for like $40 and break it at the game.
I don't know how badly that would hurt, frankly.
Well, other people have done it.
Right, but those people were like blackout drunk.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You might have to be a couple drinks in to attempt something.
I think you'd have to be more than a couple. And I also feel like I can just totally see myself like trying to like climb up on my car and then just like denting the shit out of it or something like that. Or just like, there's just so many ways that could go wrong, but I want to do it, so I don't know.
You probably wouldn't be the first fan to attempt that at a Battlehawks tailgate, though. There'd probably be a lot. You'd have a big crowd, too, probably, if you tried it. Yeah. I mean, these Battlehawks tailgates, they look pretty lit.
I definitely – that's definitely something that I want to try to do when we go down there is, like, ideally – because, it's a 4-hour drive, so we're going to have to leave early. But in a dream scenario, we leave super early, and we get there in time to just, like, party with these St. Louis guys to see, like, what it's all about out there, I might have to. I ordered a Battlehawks sweatshirt off of XFL shop, and it said it takes like 6 to 8 days to get here, but Reddit says that it's going to take longer than that. So I don't know if I'll have that hoodie in time to go to the game. So I might have to like buy something there at like a Dick's or something like that, so that I have something to wear to the game. Probably should have gotten that earlier, but we ball. So I'm in a, what might have to happen is I have to like leave here at like fucking, what time is the game next week, Josh?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I should probably figure that out, huh?
Yeah, you should.
Let's see, week 5. It's at 6 p.m. Okay. So just like get up at like 8 and then head down there. Like, yeah, that's not bad at all. I was thinking it was noon or something like that, but no, I'm chilling.
Night game in the Dome.
Dude, that's going to be lit. Like, this was a day game and it was already dope. Like, dude, like leaving the Battle Dome at like 9 at night, just everyone like pumped up after a win. Like maybe we go hit like one of the restaurants where they have the watch parties or something like that. That sounds like a good time, dude.
Yeah. I need to make a trip back sometime to go to a Battlehawks game. Like it's one of the things that I want to do. I really wanted to go last year. I was going to go, I think, to the LA Wildcats home game before the league got shut down. But
which one was I going to go to? I remember I had plans for one.
Might have been the same one, but
I don't know. We probably talked about it. I'll pull up our old podcast.
But getting back to the game, so offensively, Battlehawks weren't prolific necessarily, but they scored when they needed to. Darius Shepard, who was one of the wide receivers we were really excited about before this year started, he's really come on strong over the last couple of games. He was their leading receiver today, 8 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Also continues to be a really good returner. He had one decently large return today. He had 3 returns for 63 yards in total. That's 21 yards per return, so not bad. And then Hakeem Butler continues to be Hakeem Butler, 5 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. And that last one that he got from A.J. McCarron, right before that, the Renegades had scored a touchdown to make it a one-possession game. Battlehawks march down the field. McCarron launches one to Butler, and he kind of toe tapped at the side of the end zone to make that a touchdown. Beautiful play, beautiful catch, and props to Hakeem Butler. And then Austin Proehl, he also had 4 receptions today for 26 yards. He came up clutch a couple times, getting those first downs, as he always does. Brian Hill also added another 26 yards receiving in the receiving game. Number 22, Stephen Mitchell Jr. Hadn't heard from him much this year. Also had a couple good plays in this one. ESPN has him down for 1 catch and 19 yards, but I feel like he definitely had 2 catches. He had like 2 catches in a row, I swear to God, but it's not that big of a deal. Overall, the top 3 receivers that we projected before this year have been the top 3 receivers: Darius Shepard, Hakeem Butler, Austin Proehl. Like, they continue to be the big 3 offensively for this team. And then their tight end, Jake Sutherland, has scored on a conversion in 2 straight weeks. So they got a nice little receiving core that they figured out here.
They did add another receiver. Did you see that?
Yeah, and they've signed someone, didn't they?
Yeah, Chad Hansen. They said sign Chad Hansen after I think he got cut by like the Texans or something like that. And I think that's a really good XFL pickup. For his sake, it's kind of a shame that he signed with the Battlehawks as opposed to like a team that doesn't have good receivers, because I think he'd be one of the better receivers in this league. Like, he's a talented enough NFL. Like, he's kind of a roster bubble guy, but he should be like talented in the XFL. But I think that's a good pickup for us, like in the scenario that like Austin Proehl or Hakeem Butler like get an injury or something like that. It just adds like nice receiver depth to this lineup. He didn't suit up today. He was inactive, but he just signed with the team like this week, so it's not a surprise. But still, a nice little pickup for the Battlehawks there.
Yeah, for sure. You'll see a lot of guys, I think, over the next few weeks as NFL free agency begins. And of course, after the draft passes, you'll see players get cut from the NFL, or they'll get cut from their current rosters to make space for whoever. And you can see some of those guys kind of fall through the cracks into the XFL. And he's one of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know exactly this situation as to why he joined now. I don't think the Texans like just cut him or anything, but I think he just kind of said like, hey, this is probably my best bet.
Yeah.
I know that I don't know, I'm off the top of my head, but I know there's a couple draft eligible guys currently playing in the XFL. So what happens to them is going to be definitely interesting to see. But and like, this is slightly off topic, but I see it right now and I just want to point it out. So I pulled up the ESPN tab or the ESPN scoreboard for next week's XFL games, right? And there's the Roughnecks Sea Dragons game on Thursday, and it has the little tickets tab, and it says tickets low as $16. And then on Saturday, it has the Guardians and Vipers game. Oh my God, what a shit show. Guardians, Vipers, like, ugh. I mean, go Guardians, but yeesh.
That might be the worst. That might be the least viewed game of the year.
Well, I'm going to be on my way home from St. Louis, so I'm not going to see it. But tickets for that game are going for a whopping $11. But then if you want to go to Renegades Brahmas, it says tickets starting at $27. And then for the Battlehawks game, it says tickets starting at $37. So that right there gives you an idea of like how far St. Louis and San Antonio are from these other leagues, that it's 2 to 3 times the price to get in the door, basically.
Yeah, like the cheapest ticket, and they weren't even available until literally like the day before the game or something like that, was like $18 in the 400 level.
Ours next week, we paid $60 for ours.
Yeah,
like $65, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, you purchase yours out way further from the game, so that's going to make it more expensive too. Like sometimes when you get close to the game, those prices tend to come down a little bit, or people have to give away their tickets last second, whatever.
We also got lower level seats too.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Orlando and Vegas is just The Rock's going to have to do something about some of these cities that have a team that really shouldn't anymore, or like
It's mainly. I want to see like attendance rankings for these teams. I'll pull up XFL Analyst, which is like the premier. Do you follow him on Twitter?
who?
XFL Analyst.
No, or oh yeah, on Twitter, yes, I do.
Because I always got all my stuff from him on Instagram, but maybe it'd be easier because like he'll tweet out the attendance numbers and stuff like that. I don't know where the attendance numbers would come from otherwise, but I don't know how he gets them because he's like a 16-year-old kid, but he gets them. No, he does not post the attendance numbers on Twitter, but yeah, I'm sure there's somewhere if he finds them, but yeah.
I also, yeah, no, I'm looking at his account right now. I also just saw that he tweeted the Battlehawks. This is a few days ago. They signed running back Puka Williams, that one Kansas running back that got some draft hype last year. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Oh, here we go. He doesn't post these on his page. They're just on his story, so I can't like go back and look at past attendance. But Seattle's attendance was 15,000 yesterday. That's a 5,000 increase from 2 weeks ago. Orlando's attendance yesterday was 10,000. St. Louis's was obviously 38,000. And he hasn't posted DC's from tonight, but DC's doesn't look great. So the cutoff, DC was the lowest attended returning team from XFL 2020. Bottom two were New York, LA. Am I missing one that didn't return? Tampa. Yeah, New York, LA, and Tampa were the bottom three, and those were the three that weren't returning. So I don't know. And I'm curious as to like how frequent relocation is going to be in this league, considering like relocation was fairly frequent in the original USFL, but like they have like stadium deals and stuff like that. But I wonder like how easy to break these contracts are. Like, and I imagine that the Vegas contract is only a 1-year thing, right? Like, I'm not sure how these deals work and how easy they are to breach them. I know after 1 year, the USFL relocated a team from Tampa to Memphis, but they weren't actually in Tampa, so that was easy to do. But I don't know like how like the logistics of this for the XFL, but something's going to happen. Like, there's no way Vegas returns to Cashman Field next year. It's just
They
not a
can't.
chance.
There's no way. If you want the league to survive, like you're going to have to be willing to move cities or find a way to get out of these deals. Or maybe both sides just say, hey, you know what? Like this isn't working out at all.
Yeah. But
and it's a shame, real quick too, like with Orlando, like it's a shame with them because I feel like they could be a lot better, but their team is just horrible. So like it's tough for fans to get behind. Like I know the Orlando Apollos and the AAF did really good attendance wise.
They averaged 19,000 people per game. That's a good number for this, but they also kicked ass. And it's frustrating because I think they kind of missed the boat with Orlando. And like I think Orlando is doing a lot worse than they should be. Like everything I don't think Orlando the city is wrong. I think the venue they chose is perfect. Camping World Stadium used to host the Pro Bowl. It doesn't have any member. There's not even like a soccer team that plays there.
Yeah, and it's a nice stadium.
It's perfect. You know, it's kind of in the same vein as the Battle Dome, where it's like it's an opportunity for an XFL team to go in there, plant their flag, and that be their stadium. Like the Apollos played at the Bounce House, like, and that's where UCF plays. But Camping World Stadium is just the Guardians' home right now, right? And I was watching the first Guardians game, and it was like at a 2:00 game, so the sun was still up, and they only sold tickets on half the stadium, and they sold tickets on the visitors' bench side, which was in the stadium. So like, and it's like 80 degrees in Orlando. Why are you putting the fans out in the sun? Like maybe there's like some like logistic reason that I don't know for that, but like that just sounds like a miserable experience, especially when the team's dog shit. And like they need to get a new coach there. Like we were talking earlier, they need to fire their coach and then bring in either Steve Spurrier, who coached the Orlando Apollos, or Scott Frost, who was the head coach for UCF during those really dominant runs. And his tenure at Nebraska was so bad, I don't think he's going to go anywhere else in college football unless he did and I missed it. But Steve Spurrier, Steve Spurrier's old, but I'm sure he'd be down to do it. And if you can get Scott Frost would be perfect with those fond UCF memories. And yeah, it doesn't look like Scott Frost is doing anything right now. Also, if you can somehow like reunite Scott Frost with Mackenzie Milton in Orlando next year, they're going to sell out just because of how much UCF fans love Mackenzie Milton. But just the way that they've done it so far is just terrible. And I really feel like because we talked about it a bit, that they kind of pushed the bulk of the St. Louis and San Antonio home games to the end of the season, right? I feel like they expected a similar, but not obviously not as much, but a similar effect with Orlando. But that's just not happening because the team is dog shit. Like, if Orlando had a home game week 1, I guarantee it would do a lot better than they currently are. Because like you said earlier today, especially with these spring leagues where a lot of people don't care, it's hard to get in. It's hard to get into it if your team sucks. And Orlando and Vegas are the two worst teams in this league right now. So, like, and it's frustrating because Orlando is a proven spring football market with the Apollos, right? But the Guardians just aren't working. So I'd be really sad to see Orlando miss out on football once again if the XFL decides to move them. But honestly, like, I could understand the rationale of the move if it does happen. But I would definitely look to move like the team I would look to move the most right now is Houston, because Houston just, even if Houston is like middle of the pack when it comes to attendance right now, Houston is just unsustainable. You're already like you're sharing a stadium with the Houston Cougars right now, and you're already in the Texans market, and the USFL has the Houston Gamblers. So like you're not the biggest fish in this pond. Like you might be the second biggest, but still you're not alone. So I think they should look to move Houston elsewhere, first and foremost, and then look everywhere else. I'd say DC, because DC's attendance isn't great. It's about on par or under par. But the beer snake and lemons incident, like, it's hard to take a team from a fan base that has, like, because the beer snakes become iconic and the lemons thing was hysterical. And it's hard to take a team from a fan base like that, you know? But to me, there's no reason to keep Houston around.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's good. They had fairly good attendance in the last XFL run, if I remember correctly. I feel like you could do worse than them. Your priorities got to be like Vegas and Orlando when you think about doing moves like that. Like you said, it'd be sad to see Orlando go because they've had past successful runs, and also Orlando is a destination that I would like to keep in the XFL just for when it comes to attracting players to want to play in the league. You know, playing in Orlando sounds pretty nice to me. Vegas was just a horrible one. Like they're worse than
Vegas
Los
was
Angeles
horrible from the
Wildcats.
get. They wanted to play at Allegiant. That didn't work. And it's just been an absolute shit show from the go in Vegas. Oh, I got a list of every team's attendance right now. Yeah, the attendance record until today was 24,000 in St. Louis, and the lowest has been 6,023 with the Vegas Vipers. Everyone else is like 10 to 12 range.
Yeah, and that's kind of a shame too, because like right now the 10 to 12 range teams seem to be not that bad, but in XFL 2020, the middle of the pack teams were getting like 16,000. Like, I'd be happy if any of these other teams were hitting 16,000 consistently.
DC did last week against the Battlehawks.
Yeah, and I remember that, and that was a good crowd. But we're not hitting those numbers consistently enough.
I will say, you talk about relocating Orlando. You talked about relocating Orlando a bit, right? Orlando has done better thus far than Seattle.
Which is surprising because Seattle did really well in XFL 2020.
That's not accounting for this week. Let me pull it up. I think Seattle might have overtaken them this week now that I say that. I got to go back to XFL Analyst. But just through the first 3 weeks, because Seattle did 12 or Seattle did 10. Well, I mean, okay, never mind. It's a 1-game sample size for each, but through the first 3 weeks, Orlando did beat them. And I have faith in Orlando. Yeah, Seattle kicked the shit out of them this week. Never mind. But like I said, I still have faith in Orlando if the team's good.
Seems like a far cry for this year, but
yeah. But if you can get and again, we talk about this every week, but it's just get the Brian. Look at what Brian Hill is a perfect example of what I've been saying this entire time. Right? He's a hometown guy. He doesn't really have connections to the St. Louis fans. The fan base doesn't have a connection to him, but he's still a hometown kid. And he was the heart and soul of the team today, right? That's what Anthony Beck said. Brian Hill was so excited to get back and play in his hometown again. He hasn't done that since high school. And he got the rest of the team fired up and ready to go because it was his homecoming and stuff like that, right? Get every player as close to a homecoming as he can. 1, to fire him up like that. And 2, so that the fan base knows who these guys are. Straight up. It's Brian Hill isn't a great example. If Brian Hill went to Mizzou or played for the Rams or something like that, it would be. But I'm sure there's some local, there's probably some Mizzou fans who thought that Mizzou should have recruited Brian Hill out of St. Louis when he was a high school prospect or something like that. The point is there's a connection there, and the connection made a visible difference. This isn't just me yelling at the clouds about something that only I care about. There's visible proof that having a connection to the city improves fan relations and the product on the field. And it's just annoying that the only league to understand that was the AAF.
Yeah, they interviewed him after the game today, and he was cheering with a bunch of family and friends in the stands, and it was just really cool to see. And a lot of players actually were just hanging out with fans after the game because there were so many of them. And I also saw someone posted on the Battlehawks Facebook group that former head coach Jonathan Hayes came down to the stands after the game and just started taking pictures with fans that remembered him from being the head coach last time. And that was cool to see too.
I bet Teamu does that next week.
Yeah, the St. Louis fans, yeah, that'll be exciting. They care enough and they're passionate enough that they even remember guys who played for them last time, or Jonathan Hayes who coached for them last time, and he felt welcomed and wanted enough to go down there and say hello to the fans. I want to address
a lot of guys like that. Off the top of my head, Jonathan Hayes, Jay Hayes, Chuck Long, Will Hill, the one corner that picked off McCarron and got the kickoff return last time, Taylor Russolino, and Marquette King.
Yeah. By the way, Marquette King had a hell of a day punting the ball, actually. He averaged I want to say he averaged 50 yards a punt. But
this is a really hard league to punt in.
Yeah. He was in the dome today, though, so that helped. But Slim is chilling said, I'm still in wait and see mode for McCarron. I just got to be honest with you, Slim. We agree on mostly everything when I do my Chief stuff. I don't know what you're still waiting on, man. They even talked about it on the broadcast today. AJ McCarron, if the league ended today, would probably be the front runner for MVP. He dealt today, 20 of 27 for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns, average 7.9 yards per attempt. He's been everything and more for the Battlehawks. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Honestly, you saying that just kind of got me on what are the XFL awards? I got to look that up.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and continue and talk about the defense a little bit. So the Battlehawks had 3 interceptions today. One by Nate Metters, another by Trey Watson, and then Silas Kelly. I think Silas Kelly was the one who had the last one. My bad if I'm mixing him up with someone else, but that was an absolutely awful throw by Sloter to end the game. He just threw it right at like the feet of a defensive lineman, and he still picked it off anyway. But this defense is flying around today. Travis Feeney, also shout out to him. He's really kind of emerged as like one of the best defenders on the Battlehawks. Had a strip sack today that essentially iced the game. He's been wreaking havoc all year long. He's also been very active among the fan base. Love Travis Feeney. This defense continues to carry this team for most of the year. Like, again, their offense was good today. Like, they scored at all the right times, but their defense has largely carried them through the beginning of the season. And they've been really good. And, props to defensive coordinator Donnie Abraham. Like, he's been by far the best coach on that staff. And this defense seems to come up with stops and come up with turnovers whenever they need them most of the time. I will say, though, there was at one point today after one of the interceptions that the Battlehawks got, the commentator on TV tried to relate to St. Louis fans by making a reference to Harrison Bader, the former Cardinal, even though he got traded to the Yankees a really long time ago. Like, like a guy that's not even a Cardinals player anymore. He was way behind on that one.
Did you see what Braden just texted to the group chat?
No, I'll check it out, though.
The Rock is at the Oscars. That's why he wasn't in St. Louis today.
He was just salty that the Battlehawks beat his baby Brahmas in week 1.
I wish you'd stop pushing that narrative. It's so dumb. But no, what an unserious
that's his team.
commissioner. Like, could you imagine if like Roger just like pulled up to the Oscars instead of like the Super Bowl or something? Like,
and I know Danny Garcia was there, and I thought it was odd that The Rock wasn't there with her.
I think it's like, I don't know. I think Danny's definitely more invested in this than Dwayne is.
Well, Dwayne's
the face. I think Dwayne's the face, and Danny like does the actual work.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Like, Dwayne has the passion for it, and he like has a vision, but like Danny is the one that's like doing all of like the design.
Danny's signing the checks.
Yeah, but I mean,
wait,
look,
would that be the other way around? Dwayne's just there to sign the checks? I don't know. You get what I mean?
No, like I see it as like you ask someone to come and renovate your home. You have a vision for what your home wants to look like, but the renovator's doing all the actual work. Like, Danny's the renovator. Rock is just the guy getting his home renovated,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, The Rock, he's just salty that his Brahmas got beat week 1. Like, that's what it is. He didn't want to come to St. Louis and show his face after
his
that.
Brahmas have a lot more issues than that.
Yeah, they're like 1-3 right now. They don't look that good.
They're not even that bad. They just can't finish games.
Yeah, like, and their one win is against the Guardians, and the Guardians are awful. So that's not very impressive.
Those are two cities where you need to have a good football team.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just going to assume that DC is going to win today. The Vipers are also terrible. But we'll have to
give you a score update.
All right. But we'll have to keep our eye on that game, because if the Vipers win, DC and St. Louis will be tied for the lead in XFL North. Now, DC would still own the tiebreaker because they would they beat St. Louis already. But regardless of anything that happens today, if St. Louis beats DC next week back at home, they could still take first in
who would have the tiebreaker
in the North. I don't know who the tiebreaker would go to after that, because DC and St. Louis would be 1-1 against each other. I think it would probably go by division record, which I don't know what St. Louis's division record is off the top of my head.
They're undefeated.
Okay.
They haven't lost in the division. Neither has, the only division loss outside of, the only losses would be to each other. So, that doesn't even work.
Yeah, so I don't know what it would be after that then. I really don't.
Like, if they both finish the season undefeated outside of splitting the series with themselves, I have no idea what you do there.
Yeah. We'll worry about it when that bridge comes, though.
That's not the expression, Joshua.
Yeah, I know. I've screwed that up.
That was really bad.
Almost as bad as my spelling of St. Louis, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know who's watching this, but anybody that's watching this, please flame Josh for that. Nobody's watching. Just stupid. Wait. What? Okay, well, the score box ticker just went from Vipers 12 down to Vipers 6, down to Vipers 6.
They must have had a touchdown that got called back.
Last play, Vegas, Matt McCrane, 47-yard field goal, no good.
Speaking of that, the one thing that I was going to mention, Donnie Hagman, 1 of 1 on field goals today. Progress for Donnie Hagman. Like, it was only a 28-yarder that he went for today, but my heart was throbbing when he went out there.
Yeah. Need a new kicker. Straight up.
But, man, that's all I got to say about today's game. Like, it was great that the Battlehawks won, but that's kind of like the underlying story. Like, the headline for today was St. Louis
Yeah,
and its
the
fans.
story's about the city of St. Like, no one cares about Becht, McCarron, Sloter, or whatever this week. The story's about the city of St. Louis. Like,
yeah, and they enjoyed the heck out of today. Like,
yeah, and even next week, like, yeah, there's a storyline of Tam, it was homecoming, and blah 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 blah, all that. But what really, it's just like the city of St. Louis. The entire story of this league is the city of St. Louis proving that they are a football town, and that's the moral of the story. And that's going to continue to be proven week in and week out. And wasn't there a Kroenke sucks chant?
Yeah, right at the beginning of the game, we got a Kroenke sucks chant. I got to say one more thing, though, and then we'll wrap it up. I saw Barstool Sports on Twitter tweeted about 38,000 fans being in attendance at the XFL game today, and they were like, St. Louis needs an NFL team. And I go down in the comments because I'm curious to see, and I see people saying shit like, oh, did you see how many people were at St. Louis Rams games before they left? And it's like, okay, tell me you know nothing about St. Louis without telling me you know nothing about St. Louis. I hate how when people say that. Like,
let me see what 2015 NFL attendance was.
I did see another tweet that like St. Louis's attendance today was like good enough to go up against like attendance at a Commanders game.
Well, I pull up 2015 2015 NFL attendance, and at 30th they have Las Vegas. So Las Vegas was not a member of the NFL in 2015. So I have no idea.
I do know that the Rams were towards the bottom of the league. They also had the worst 5-year stretch in NFL history record-wise, and so like that doesn't help. And people forget.
The Rams were 32nd.
Yes. And that's
2000.
And that's what happens when you're one of the worst teams in the league for a decade plus.
Well, Kroenke was deliberately sandbagging so that they could move the team.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like people don't realize that.
Same thing
like,
that's going on in Oakland baseball right now.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because the Rams were wildly popular among St. Louis, and they were very successful before Kroenke took ownership. So
what was, I don't know, give me a year to peep before the sandbagging started.
Just go back to 2001, the year that they won the Super Bowl. Like that was their peak.
Wasn't 2001 them defending their title?
Yeah, that was the Patriots Super Bowl win. By gate.
59,000.
But you'd still, I was going to say you'd still get good attendance numbers from that year.
I think this is them and not the Chargers. No, that's the Chargers. They only have 2 teams listed from the 2001 season, Buffalo and the Chargers. I don't know why. What? Yeah, the ESPN NFL attendance page is just terrible. Let's peep 2010. Like, none of this makes any sense. Like, again, like, why is it Los Angeles? Like, because they make the distinction of New York Jets and New York Giants on here. But even in 2015, when the Rams were in St. Louis and the Chargers were in San Diego, it has them both listed as Los Angeles. So until you like click on the team's page, you have no idea which team they're even talking about, and they're not even in the right city at the time. So like, yeah, you can tell ESPN really cares about this page. But I'm looking at 2010 and they were 30th, but that doesn't really help the narrative now, does it? Let's go to 06. In 06, they were, looks like 23rd. Yes. Okay.
You also have to consider, though, the dome's capacity compared to some other NFL stadiums, like even then. And I don't know if that's
let me
factoring in.
sort by percentage.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if that's like factoring in proportionality, like
It
no,
is
how many
not.
seats they have. Like it's yeah.
Well, when you factor in percentage, no, that's not them. When you factor in percentage in the, I don't even know which season this is, 2006. When you factor in percentage, they're ninth.
Yeah, so there you go.
They filled 100% of the stadium. Their percentage filled was 100.4.
There you have it. I mean, it's a football town. When you give them a good product that's actually worth coming out to, you get good attendance numbers.
Oh wait, didn't Beck say that they sucked in 2008?
Yeah, they interviewed Beck before the game because he played for
Let's
the Rams.
keep 2008.
Like,
percentage filled in 2008. Indy was the only person over 100. I guess 2006 was just a really good year for football. Shoot. In 2008 they were okay. In 2008 they were 28th with but even in 2008 they were still at 95.
But yeah, that's kind of when the decline started to happen, though.
Yeah. I feel like the dome's just small, frankly.
It was outdated even when they moved into it, to be honest. Or it was beginning to be outdated shortly after they even moved into it.
Edward Jones dome capacity.
But
only 66,000. That's
it. It's good for XFL games, though. I mean, they made good use out of it today.
Games, frankly.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. We've been going on for a while beyond the game, so
yeah, basically just rambling about the same shit every week.
Yeah. With all that being said, though, for you guys still watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Battlehawks fans can find this, even if you're watching after the fact.
Yeah, we're going to need you to like and share because Josh doesn't know how to spell St. Louis, so it's not going to appear in search terms. So our only shot of getting any views is if you show your friends, because it's not going to show up on anyone's search terms. The dude's from St. Louis. I don't know how he made that mistake and how he continues to make that mistake after 4 weeks, but here we are.
It's not a mistake.
So yeah, if you want Josh to continue putting food on the table because he's too incompetent to spell his titles right, I'm going to need you to share this video with all your friends.
Did you want to plug like your social media or anything?
I don't care. Like, they know who I am at this point. Like,
all right, well, there you go. So
we'll see go check out my YouTube channel that I haven't touched in 6 months.
Well, it hasn't been that long, and you said you were working on some stuff. How's that coming along?
That was a lie. I haven't done anything. I might.
So you admit here, live on the air, that you're a fraud?
Sure. I mean, I'm on spring break right now, and I have nothing better to do, so I might as well. Like, it's been 4 months. But yeah, I'm on spring break right now. I have nothing better to do, so I guess I could do something, but I don't know.
Yeah, you probably should.
I don't know what to do. Give me an idea, Josh, and I'll do it.
Anthony Becht rant. I don't know.
Give me a good idea, Josh, and I'll do it.
You can just make a video talking about the St. Louis's XFL attendance from today.
What if I don't know. I was thinking about maybe doing one where I like compare the kind of do like a side-by-side comparison of the XFL and USFL and like talk about like the survival rate or like which one's more likely to survive.
Yeah, you could do like a XFL versus USFL. Probably that'd be an interesting video. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you everyone for watching.
You said that 20 minutes ago, Josh.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you all in the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and press the end broadcast button so we don't talk about anything else.